Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hometown Cable, our show on this Sunday and every Sunday. What's going on? Here's the name of it. My name is Bob Venn, Calvin Castine with the camera, and as many different places as we go, it's always nice to come back. This is our third or fourth time at the Clinton County Historical Society in Plattsburgh, New York. I think it's only the second time on corner Court and Oak. We've been in the old City Hall building, and one of the reasons we're here, most important, we have a brand new Executive Director. What do we call? What's your title?
My official title is Director Curator.
Director Curator. That's why we're here. One of the reasons. And her name is Jane.
Jane Rupp.
Jane Rupp. R-U-P-P. And if you want to pronounce it differently, it's okay, right? But that's the way you pronounce it. Jane, where are you from, and how did you get here to Plattsburgh?
I'm from Northwest Ohio, and this is a new position for me. I had been working in Dayton, Ohio, which is in the southwest part of the state, and had gone to graduate school to learn about working in historical associations and museums. As the job search progressed to find full-time work in this field, this position opened up, and I was interviewed and selected.
How do you find out about this position in Ohio? At college?
That's a possibility. Now, this particular position was advertised in a national newsletter put out by the American Association of Museums. And many of these positions across the country are advertised in the same way in a number of these newsletters.
Did you say, I wonder where Plattsburgh is in New York State?
Well, yes, I did. Yes, I did. But once I learned about it and visited it, it's a beautiful country here.
It sure is.
People have been very friendly. I'm very pleased to be here.
Great, thank you. People don't know there's anything above Albany, because that's northern New York is Albany, not even halfway up. Where did you go to school in Ohio?
I am a graduate of Ohio State University.
A little tiny school.
Tiny school.
Yeah.
And a very proud graduate of Ohio State,
Yes.
as a matter of fact. My bachelor's degree is in education. My master's is in history, and it is from Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay. I worked at Customs, and one of the people that came was from, went to Oberlin.
Oh, yes.
And that's a
Oberlin's a very well-known
school,
institution in
Russian
Ohio.
major. But I'll tell you, my nephew from Rouse's Point, Terrence Gay, son of Virginia and Bob Gay, took his master's at Ohio State University, had gone to Clarkson, about 3,000 or 4,000 students, and what do you have, 70, 80 at Ohio State?
On the main campus, there is somewhere between 50 and 60,000 students. And it's quite a phenomenon. It is a city in a city, no question about it. But many of the alumni, such as myself, have very strong attachments.
Okay, so you came here how long ago?
I arrived here in early January.
Okay, you said January. That's a heck of a time to come to the North Country, huh?
It was the week, you may remember, that it was getting to 35 below.
Okay, so January 19th is when we had the flooding. Were you here then?
Yes, I was here before then.
Okay, well, at least you didn't.
I had the cold, and then they had the
They had that
floods.
warmed up, yeah, that thing. All right, you succeeded Helen Allen, who had been here for over 10 years, huh?
Oh, 23
23 years. Well, that's over 10, but
Yes.
over 23. So you stepped right in here. Is there much? You're under a board of directors? Is
Yes.
that your boss?
Yes,
the board
we
of
have
directors?
a 15-member board of trustees who oversee the operations of the museum. I am full-time paid staff. We have a full-time administrative assistant as well, who is invaluable to me in dealing with office and bookkeeping activities, as well as many other logistical things that are related to our activities.
Have you ever worked at a museum before as such like this?
Yes, of course, when I was in graduate school, we were required to do internships. And that internship at the Marion County Historical Society in Marion, Ohio, developed into a part-time curatorial position. Their funding did not allow them to hire a person full-time, and so I continued to look for full-time work.
Okay, let's just take, now this is a little abstract, but what can a member like myself or anybody who comes to the museum expect to be different now that you've got your director, curator different? Is there anything we're going to see much different?
One thing that we're trying to work on is to establish a rotating schedule of temporary exhibits. Of course, there are certain things that are on exhibit that are imperative that they stay on exhibit. They are so significant in the history of the county and in the feelings of the people of the county that we want to keep those on exhibit at all times.
Okay.
But there are many other things that we can choose to highlight different aspects of county history and have temporary exhibits related to those topics.
So what you're saying is you can come here 2 or 3 times a year and you're going to see a lot of it different.
That's what we're working toward.
Okay. Now, we're going to take a break in just a second, but before we do, the second important reason why we came here, we're going to talk about the vintage car meet and the antique show coming up.
Absolutely.
Let's just take 2-3 minutes for that before we take a break, and we'll be going back to that again before we leave to make sure that we cover it well. Okay, tell us what we're expecting here now. It's on the 6th and 7th of July.
That's Saturday, July 6th from 10 to 5.
Okay.
And Sunday, July 7 from 10 to 4. It will take place at the oval of the historic Plattsburgh Air Force Base, or what we call the old base.
Right. If you don't know where that is, then you've been here less time than Jane has, because that is a very historic. I graduated from college in that area because I went to Champlain College just before it became the air base, and the admission is $3, children $2 under 12. And then you're going to have the antique show inside in the old gym, I understand?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct. And we are obtaining dealer commitments from as far away as Syracuse, and we do have one coming from New Hampshire.
Okay.
So we're quite pleased about the variety of dealers that we'll have.
All right. And there'll be the antique vintage car meet outside. And among others, you can see Randy Beach and all the other people that have the final cars.
Randy Beach is the chairman of our auto show, along with Jim Judkins, and this is their 3rd year serving in that capacity. Our co-chairs for the antiques portion are Shirley Kester and John McKenna, both of whom serve on our Board of Trustees.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll be touching this again before we leave. Just take a break and we'll be right back. Thanks for watching Hometown Cable. We're pretty. Can we call this the McDonough room? Is that all right? What do you call this room?
I think I would call it our Lake Champlain
All
room.
right, Lake Champlain.
Because we do discuss the discovery of the lake and Samuel de Champlain, as well as the very important battles that occurred on Lake Champlain. The Battle of Plattsburgh, of course, in 1814, and before that, Benedict Arnold's command of the U.S. Navy at Valcour.
Okay, we won't spend a lot of time in here. We spent time the last time we were touring here. We just want you to know that this is still here. Come in and check this out. This is an important part of our story. And I'll bet you're coming here just like going to college again. You had to learn all this history.
There is a lot to learn.
You want to believe it?
There is a lot to learn. One thing that's interesting, coming to the eastern part of the country, in Ohio, most of the history starts roughly 200 years ago, at least recorded history. But here, recorded history starts almost 200 years before that.
Right. You see,
so there's lots to learn.
Right. We know that, but we don't think about that. See, we know that when you mention it, that's right. But we just don't think about it.
And as you move westward across the country, even from, for example, Ohio to its neighboring state, Indiana, things begin a little bit later.
Yeah.
And the further west you go, you run into that.
There's very big historical offices in North Dakota. I've been out there, too. A friend of mine was there. And they started in the 1880s.
Exactly.
You know? And yet they're so proud of this, and we're
They
200
should be.
years before it. That's right.
And there is so much to be proud of wherever you live.
Wherever you are.
And this is what we want to try to tell Clinton Countyans.
Okay. When you want to come here, when is it open? When are you open?
Our hours are from 12 noon to 4 p.m. on Tuesday through Friday, and on Saturday from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m.
Okay. It's closed Sunday.
It's closed on Sunday and Monday.
All right.
But we can arrange group tours if you call ahead.
Okay. How big of a group can you accommodate?
An ideal size is probably about 20 people, but we can make arrangements to accommodate a larger group.
If they're bigger, it's
just
hard.
by splitting them up.
That's what
and
you have to do because you can't all see
moving in a
what you're-
different direction.
Okay. It's $2 to get in for an adult?
Adult admission is $2. Seniors, $1.50. Children 12 and under, $1.
Okay, and if you're a member, there's no charge.
Members have free admission.
Okay, and if you're not a member, you ought to at least consider it. This is where we came from, and it's where we're going, and all our offspring here is very, very important. We're going to move into the next room. I don't know if this was here before, but there are several things in here that, even if we had, I don't think we touched on it a lot. The centerpiece. Start right off with the centerpiece, Jane. Want to come over here, maybe?
Okay.
Come on, right. We're very informal on our. Okay.
The centerpiece of this room is an item that we are very, very pleased to have in our collection. It is a cross-stitch rug handmade by the daughters of Judge Pliny Moore of Champlain. It was completed in 1811, and it is one of the oldest existing handmade rugs in the United States, according to the Smithsonian Institution.
Wow, very, very important spot right here. And I don't remember seeing, we didn't spend a lot of time with the last time, if it were here then. And of course, you people from outside the Champlain area, if there are any that don't know it, Pliny Moore is credited with being the first settler. There may have been others from Canada. He was the first English settler nevertheless, in the late 1770s, 1780s. Came in, and he had a family of about 6 or 7, and these were the girls that did this. Right up until recently, Charles McClellan at the Border Press downstairs under the board. Am I talking the wrong one? McClellan's Press under the Knights of Columbus in Champlain, New York. I don't know why I want to call it the border. I'm thinking of the Rouse's Point people.
Thinking of that other old person, Jim Rochester.
Yeah, Jim Rochester, the other old person. And of course, he was a direct descendant of Pliny Moore. And then when he and his wife passed away, that was the end of the descendants that we have in Champlain.
Morsefield Press.
Morsefield Press, there we go. And because named after the Moors, and he did an awful lot in Champlain. His home is the Clark Funeral Home now. It's been burned and rebuilt exactly. Still there in Champlain. Anything else we should know about that?
Not really. That is the important thing about it. One thing that is interesting, in another of our exhibit areas, we do have a lovely painting of the Pliny Moore home that dates back quite a long time, and a chair that can clearly be seen on the front porch of the building in a photograph from the early 20th century.
You have it?
Yes, it's on exhibit.
Okay.
here.
Now, do you have to have some kind of special care of this? I notice there's no direct lights on it. Is that right?
You're absolutely right. Textiles of any kind are very, very fragile. Light will fade them, especially ultraviolet light. That's why there are no direct lights on this. And we do, when things are not on exhibit, we do cover this to prevent sunlight from catching the corners.
I want to tell you for sure, in case you haven't already known it, there were no numbers to follow to make this rug. Tapestry, what do we call it? Is it a rug or a tapestry?
It's cross-stitch.
Cross-stitch, okay. And it was for a wall piece original?
No, it was a rug.
It was a rug,
This was a small rug. There is a room-size rug that is a companion to it. And they also made a staircase rug. So there were 3 pieces. It wasn't just this piece, but there were 2 others as well.
Okay. You'll notice when you come to the museum the lack of crowdedness. There is no just pushing in here everything you can put in. It's very important to have fewer things and give them the room they need.
Yes, and this also emphasizes the importance of the items that we do exhibit. It's very easy to want to put out everything. We do want you to see everything, but we can't do it all at once. So we choose the things that we think will best tell the story of Clinton County.
Okay. As we look around, is there some, I don't remember, maybe some of these pictures were here before.
This painting, I think,
over
will
the fireplace.
Yes, the one over the fireplace, I think, will be of interest as we were discussing the McClellan family. This is Martha McClellan, who is an ancestor of the McClellans that you were speaking of, Charles. She did not live in Clinton County herself, but being his ancestor, we have obtained this painting actually from the McClellans, and it has been restored. It was in much worse condition, and that was a very costly venture.
They are. They are. The many of the McClellan papers, and some of those, of course, were the Moore papers, are now at the Feinberg Library here at the college, and they're available to see if you have reason rather than just to go look at them. I mean, if you have some kind of a project, they'd be glad to show you. They're getting indexed. I've seen them, a lot of pictures, small pictures. There's a lot of papers. There's tons of stuff. And because they had a great big safe in the back that was a built-in, walked-in room, and they kept all these things for many years. They kept everything, every slip of paper.
And that's such a wonderful archive to have
It sure is.
as we go back through the generations.
Yeah, we had that one in Champlain and Chazy, the Hubbles. The Hubbles in Chazy, I think that was the name, that had a lot of papers, and that's in that museum there, or our historian's office. Anything else? Now this, I don't remember, the Captain Nathaniel Platt, of course the Plattsburgh named after the Platt family.
This is a member of that family. This was his home that was located on Cornelia Street. It was burned in 1822, but the house that replaced it at that time is still standing on the north side of the street as you head west from downtown.
Okay. Not that stone one. That's
Yes,
that
the one
little
that's
stone that's used for the law
that's
office?
situated a long ways back from the road.
Oh, that's a different one.
on
That's not the
north-
one I was thinking here. Okay.
But there's one that's situated quite a distance back from the road, but you can see it.
You've got to come in here and read all of these things that are next to all of them. Thomas McDonough, of course, the big story here. Alexander McComb, leader of the land forces here in Plattsburgh. And we'll take another short break. You're watching Hometown Cable. We're at the Clinton County Museum, and we wish you were here with us. Stand by. You'll see what we're seeing. Another very open room with just several pieces of furniture and some paintings. And what room is this?
I'm not sure what I would call it if I would give it a title. The things in here date roughly around the middle of the 19th century. We do have portraits of two of the Platts and the wife of Levi Platt as well, which are very
Over
lovely.
here, yeah.
And we're very proud to have those, as well as some fine furnishings from area homes.
Okay.
We have also portraits painted and other paintings by Richard Keyes. He is of the Keyes family for which Keysville was named, and he came along a little later. We don't know a lot about Richard's life, but we think he may have been trained as an artist in Europe. And if you'll notice the style on these paintings, it's a much softer style as compared to the sharp, distinct lines that are in the earlier portraits. So the styles are changing. We can see it happen. We can see history and art moving forward.
That's something that I can see when you point it out, but I wouldn't pick it up myself. Someone has to point that out to me. One of the things, if you do come, use some discretion with children, and you don't want things touched because there is wear and there's other things, right?
We do have to be very careful about not touching the artifacts. In fact, when we have to work on things or clean them, we wear gloves.
Okay.
The oils from the
oil.
skin do damage.
And I have a tendency to just, isn't that nice and smooth? But
Oh,
we don't want to do that.
It's so tempting.
Well, you know when it says wet paint, we check to see if it still is.
Exactly.
Well, you don't touch. So if you come in, but you're very welcome. There's a lot to see here, and this is very formal in here. These 2 or 3 rooms we've seen so far. We're going to go see some special collections now, just around the corner. Upstairs is strictly offices now.
Offices and storage,
Okay.
utility areas, that kind of thing.
Okay.
We always need more space, but we're really quite comfortable here.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the house when we get back. There was a picture back there. When we looked at the picture of the original, I saw it out here somewhere. We'll talk about it, and I know a little bit of history of it here. I just lost the man's name, but the Undertaker who was here. Dave's father, Blix. Yeah, Rudy Blix was here for years, and he's did some of the changes here. I think he made one of the additions on the side. It was a very nice funeral home that was here. We'll be right back. We've come into what would have been the hallway, and this is looking throughout the front door. At one time, when you look right out onto Court Street, at one time, this wall, I believe, or 4 feet away from here, was the eastern wall of the building. And then they added, the door wasn't in the center, it was on the side. And they've added another 20, 30 feet to the right to center it, right? That
That's
happened.
correct.
I think that was with Mr. Blix, I think.
It was done in the 40s.
Okay, that's what I think,
Okay.
Mr. Blix in the 40s,
And
50s.
it gave the building an entirely different appearance. We do have a photograph over on this wall
We'll see that.
that shows the building before the addition
Right.
was put on.
And it was a hospital back in the War of 1812, 14, and the British had the hospital
Yes,
here.
the British used a portion of the basement as a hospital area.
Okay. Now, how do you decide what you're going to use this for on a different, we got a different display, say. How did you decide on this display?
Well, this one more or less fell to us. It just kind of fell in our laps.
Mm-hmm.
We were submitted a manuscript by Mrs. Jan Kuchar, who is a 4th grade teacher at Saranac School. She had worked with her students
Move down here.
to prepare a study of the Battle of Plattsburgh, and the final product was a picture book written by and illustrated by the class members.
Mm-hmm.
She submitted that to us, and I wanted to make sure that these children were recognized for the work that they put in and to help them understand that they can make a contribution at a young age, something that will benefit the entire community, whatever the age of the visitor that comes to the museum. So we have selected artifacts that relate to details in the story
Mm-hmm.
to go with the story, and the original artists
Yeah.
who did the drawings have colored them,
Okay.
especially for this exhibit.
Okay. Now, when they first came and saw this exhibit, it's a little bit of pride in their eyes, and
They were very, very pleased that the association chose to recognize their effort.
you know, not everyone, but maybe a couple out of that whole group, because of this, will do things they wouldn't have done otherwise.
Well, this is what we hope.
We hope that,
And we hope that as children learn about their community, they'll develop a pride of place, and that whether or not they stay here, they can still look back on their hometown and say, I'm proud to be from here.
If you remember when we were at the air base and we were talking about 3 forts in the area of Plattsburgh, they were talking about the one right there in the middle of the parade ground. There was one, and then Fort Brown, and Fort Brown was across the road from the air base, right in the curve. I don't know if I can find it here.
Fort Brown is right at the curve of
Oh, okay, way up above. Okay, you see the curve up above, and then just on the other side is where the base was. Is that right? Or am I here?
Well, the base is right between the river and the lake.
This is the lake. I beg your pardon. Okay, I'm going here from the wrong
You see
direction.
where the forts are.
Okay, yes,
That-
the
that's
fort.
on the base
Okay,
grounds.
all right. Route 9. We're really
Well, you
okay.
see
That's
the
going
road?
south that
Yes.
way. Okay.
It goes right past Fort
okay.
Brown today.
Yeah, south is looks like it's going west here. The map is not the way it would be. This is west is up in this map, and then you got the 3 Fort Morrow, Fort Brown, and Fort Scott. They see there that we can see, and then of course some of them the small handguns, and your powder horn, a sword, belts, and just I guess must be off some ship.
Yes, in the story, the children have a character named Johnny who sees the Battle of Plattsburgh, and he's watching it with his grandfather. Now, they mention in the story also that his grandfather served with Benedict Arnold at Valcour, and thus we have chosen to exhibit a portion of
Okay.
a gun carriage from the Royal Savage, which was Benedict Arnold's
Right.
flagship at Valcour.
Right, which is one of the reasons why you have the restaurant called Royal Savage. Now, look, one other thing I want you to note: building Benedict Arnold's fleet at Skene-borough, S-K-E-N-E. That is Whitehall today, just down the 150 miles down the lake. It was known as Skene-borough. Willsboro was W-I-L-L. S-B-O, it was a real B-R-O-U-G-H. Yes, that was then. Okay, this is a display. When we were last here, remember we looked at dolls and some toys in here, and we were talking with, I'm going to have trouble here, Joan, my cousin, Heron from Saranac. And now we've got some plates and the things that just go right along with it.
That's right. As I
Okay.
mentioned, there's a telescope in here. Johnny and Grandpa look through the telescope to watch the action on the lake as it unfolds.
So they all cooperated in the one story.
Yes, they work
Classic.
together as a class.
Okay.
One thing that I would like to point out
Sure.
that we're very, very proud to have in our collection is this sword right
Let me
here.
trade spices with you so you can be facing me.
Yes, this
Yes.
sword is a commemorative sword that was presented to General Benjamin Moores in appreciation for his efforts as commander of the militia at the Battle of Plattsburgh. This was given to him by the state of New York. And this is a fairly recent acquisition for us, and we are so pleased to have it.
Did that come from the family? I think I heard about this, no?
No, it did not. It came
Okay.
from a collector in Colorado
Oh, okay.
who acquired it and offered it to us.
Isn't that nice, huh? More
It's
people could do
wonderful.
things like that because this is where it belongs. It's home now, right?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, we'll take a short break before we go on and see the glass. Redford glass we're going to see. Picture on the screen will show the house the way it was before it was renovated.
That's correct. And as you can see, the front entrance, the main entrance that is now in the center of our
Yes.
building, it was to the right in the original structure.
Right.
So that the rooms beyond that, which we have not yet stepped into,
Right.
are new additions.
Okay. One thing you mentioned as we were off camera, this is temporary and going to be not here too long.
No, it will be replaced in early August with an exhibit of photographs from the early 20th century that were generously given to the museum by Mrs. Roger Kennedy.
Oh, yeah,
So
that'll be interesting. Yeah.
these photographs are related to Plattsburgh and Clinton County and really contain a wealth of information.
Now, I hope that the parents and the relatives and the friends of these students from up Saranac, you said?
Saranac School,
All
last
right,
year's
well,
fourth grade class.
Okay, I hope that you've been down here. If you haven't, you should come down here to see if, even if they aren't your own relative, they're the children of your neighbors, and come down here and look at this fine exhibit and how they've contributed. The young group have contributed to this museum. Come in and see it. And while we're talking about pictures, and you mentioned pictures coming up in 19th century, there's some beautiful pictures and some other items of that sort I didn't know about in the public library in a special room in the back, and you'll have to check with the librarian as to how and when that is open. But I was amazed at the pictures they had back. Have you been in that room yet?
Being new in the community, I haven't had a
Okay.
chance yet, but that wealth of material is so important to preserve.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Well, when we were mentioning it, I think we've looked at most of the Redford glass when we were here last time as we were recapping, so we won't do all the Redford glass. If you want to see it in its entirety, come in here and look at it yourself. The clock, I guess, was here. The Indian don't have any arms. What happened to our Indian?
Well, I'm not sure what happened to his arms, but as you can see, he also has a split
Yes.
down the middle.
Yeah, well, that'll happen
That's
with
an example of what aging can
Yes,
do,
yep.
and dry air.
dry and temperature change and everything else, right?
So we're very pleased to have it. It's a wonderful artifact.
Okay. Right here, this is something maybe you could comment about. You get over in this side of me here so you can tell us what this is.
This is a foot warmer from the 19th century. It would have been used on cold nights when people would go out in their wagons or sleighs,
Sleighs,
depending
yeah.
on whether there
Yeah,
was
you
snow
got-
or
this is
not.
winter in the North
Yeah,
Country.
Depends,
Sleigh.
probably
All right.
a sleigh. And you would put hot coals inside of it. You see there's metal,
Yes.
and there are perforations to allow heat to escape, and that would, you could step your feet on the top of that as you ride, and it helps you to stay warm.
If I think you still have copies of Dr. Kellogg's book, you still have that available?
They are finally sold out.
They are
and
sold
it's
out, huh?
unfortunate. It's a wonderful resource, and I'm sure it's
Yeah.
available in our
the
libraries.
And he talks about things like this because he used to go out and he had a signal with his wife. I remember reading the book that instead of going in and unhitch his horses and put them in a barn, if there was a lantern in a certain window, that meant he had to go back out again. So he just went in, got a cup of coffee or whatever, and went right back out. Did not unhitch the horse. And things like that is what the doctor used as he ran. That's when they went to your home. Did you have office, not home calls in Ohio? Do you remember those by the doctors?
I remember them from my childhood.
Not anymore, huh?
It doesn't happen too much anymore, but I'm sure it could if the need would arise. But I do remember it happening.
Your family is still in Ohio?
Yes,
your
they
parents
are.
And things? Have they been out here to see you yet?
They were just here. They headed for home Monday morning.
They did. So what do they think of your place here, huh?
Oh, they were very pleased to see
sure,
the museum
I'm sure.
and the beautiful country around
It
Lake
is nice
Champlain.
country, isn't it?
Yes.
There's been
yes.
some rain maybe when they were here. We had some rain last week. But,
The rain was a problem, but it wasn't as difficult for us as it might have been. We managed to dodge the worst of it.
I'll tell them to come in December and January. They may not like it quite so much. Okay, we're going to go in the other section, and the section we'll be seeing now, which really, if Calvin will turn, is right here, is where the new addition is, back in the late 40s, and I think that's when Rudy Blix had the funeral home, Blix Funeral Home. And David Blix, who lives on the Ridge Road in Champlain, is the son of Rudy Blix and had lived here himself during the 50s. I think it was in the 50s that I used to come here and see Mr. Blix. An excellent businessman. He knew what was happening. A lot of people in business do very well because they've got what people want. There are other people who are businessmen in addition to having what people want. He was one of those. We're looking at a showcase in another room, the front room of it, Jane, and it shows an excursion. It's a billboard that was put up, or a poster, showing a Presbyterian church sponsoring a Sunday school excursion to Burlington in 1901 from Altona, New York. I don't believe there's a Presbyterian church in Altona now that I know of. And Altona, Moores Forks, Moores Junction, Champlain, and Rouse's Point. And there's your admission, or your charge, $1.15. Special trains to be run, and the whole thing right there. Some of the other artifacts that you can point out to me, Jane, as you know them here.
Yes, this room contains a rather eclectic collection of items. They are simply recent acquisitions by the museum. That's the unifying theme. So things from various periods, various areas, no particular topic here.
Okay. So a lot of people could find something interesting, yet be in a different area of our county.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
We have a lovely commemorative plate, a souvenir plate of Plattsburgh.
Any idea the year of that? YMCA is there from Plattsburgh.
Roughly 1920.
And of course, the barracks, just above it, the barracks. It's been here since the late 17, early 1800. State Normal School, that's when it was a teacher's college back in the 30s. I think it burned in the late 20s or early 30s.
In the late 20s,
Late 20s,
I
huh?
believe.
Okay. As we look around, and the pictures on the wall here, the paintings.
These two paintings of the weavers are portraits that were painted by A.L. Powers. Now, you may see some damage on these paintings. These particular paintings are on loan to us at the present time. Now, were we to acquire these as gifts, we would look toward obtaining contributions to have them restored. But since they do not belong to the museum at this time, they are someone else's property, we don't have the authority to do that kind of thing. But these are good examples of what time can do to artifacts.
Okay, now tell me, you said you would have tried to obtain some donations. How would you go about that? Who would be interested in donating to that painting? Family members? Just members in general, or?
Any and all of the above.
Okay.
Perhaps there would be a descendant that might have a particular interest. Perhaps, as you said, perhaps even a business might be willing to make a contribution to help restore some of these artifacts.
And someone's got to do it, because I know that up in Shazy they repaired one of the samplers, It was like $12,000 or $15,000 to repair an old sampler. It was really expensive, you know. All right, there's two more paintings on the far side. Are they also are they from Plattsburgh? You know that their family names?
These are the Arnolds. And
Okay.
these are painted by the same artist who did the Weavers that we just spoke of.
Okay.
They, of course, were county residents, and you can see that these are part of our museum collection and are a little bit better.
They're in better shape. If you look over here, here's what she's talking about. You notice the markings on the whitish, the staining like on the face. That's from the temperature and...
It can be temperature, it can be humidity, perhaps too wet, too dry. Drastic changes in those
Okay.
levels affect paintings as well.
Okay. Over here, this is a
Spinning wheel.
spinning wheel, huh? And is that anything that we should know about that? Is it just something of the time, or is it belong to a particular family? A flax wheel, early 19th century.
We don't know too much about it other than that.
Okay.
But needless to say, an important tool.
Right.
Very important tool for the era.
Okay. In memory of Hogue.
Hogue
Phoebe.
sisters.
Yep.
Phoebe and Hannah Hogue of Peru. This is an example of a Victorian memorial painting, something that we don't see too much of today. But these two sisters passed away. We think it may have been due to consumption or, as we know it, TB.
Mm-hmm.
And the family chose to have this painting to remember
Mm-hmm.
them by.
When it's interesting that Jane said that, is that consumption. A lot of people died of consumption. You said, "Gosh, it must have been that." We don't have that disease anymore. Well, it's TB, tuberculosis, and it did leave us, but now it's coming back. I understand it to get to be another problem again. We are very old. Please do not touch. No, that's not for touching again. A portable desk I got. This is the portable desk.
Yes, that's a portable desk. It's a very unique item. This is another thing that we're pleased to have because it is unusual. This is something that a person could carry around, something like a laptop computer,
Yep,
I guess,
yep.
about the same size.
Right. If you'll notice, it said was owned by John W. Bailey, the owner of a stone house on Cornelia Street. One thing you'll notice as you look at the old names, many streets in the city of Plattsburgh were later named after these people. Bailey Avenue obviously was named after that family. Treadwell Mills up here, probably named after Thomas Treadwell.
He was an important early citizen in Clinton County. You may notice that on the portrait there is an eye patch. He had some sort of an accident while riding, according to legend. We don't know this for a fact, but we believe that a branch may have caught him in the eye as he was riding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is unusual to have the eye patch even when there would be some injury. So apparently it was not a question of vanity with him. He wanted the portrait to be accurate.
Lived to be 90 years old, 1742 to 1832, educated at Princeton University. We sometimes forget that the universities are real old, and they were here. The sign, plan ahead, I think you said, huh?
I'll move over here.
Yeah.
This is a tavern sign from Peru. It dates back almost 200 years. And as you can see, there was a little bit of a problem with having enough space for all the letters. I remember as a child seeing a sign that said plan ahead, and the A and the
Yeah.
D were falling off the end. And this reminds me so much of that.
Right.
But you can see that the artist who made the sign was very skilled and quite talented, but needed to work on layout a little bit.
Planning ahead. Court Street sign, identity, gift to the city, 20th century. Just a map of up and down our lake.
Yes.
This is something newer.
This is newer and very lovely. These are candlesticks that were given to the museum by the Officers' Wives Club of the Plattsburgh Air Force Base when the base closed last fall. This was their gift to us. As a matter of fact, they supported the museum by helping to fund the restoration of Mrs. McClellan's portrait that we
Okay,
discussed earlier. So they have been good supporters of the museum through the years.
You'll notice all electric and gas cars. Of course, there were cable cars here, and not cable, but electric cars that started at Upper Bridge Street, went down Bridge Street, and went out U.S. Avenue, all the way out to the what is now Clinton Community College. There was a trolley and electric at that time. That stopped back in the late teens, I think it was. 1911 and 12 was very active out there with that sort of thing. All right, we'll move out into the next room and take a break right here before we walk off.
Bob has moved on to another room. We just want to show you this souvenir from Ellenberg Depot. It says the strawberries, souvenir of Ellenberg Depot, circa 1930, gift of William Laundrie. You never know what you might find. There's a picture of some boxers from the air base, a couple of artifacts from the Hotel Champlain, which I believe is now Clinton Community College. I'm going to go catch up with Bob.
Picture you see is a picture of plenty more. And this collection right in this whole area now, you've just put together?
No, this has been here, but these are artifacts that relate directly to Pliny Moore. Of course, we have the profile portrait, the family coat of arms. This is a lovely picture of his home.
Right, on the banks of a river in Champlain. It doesn't look exactly like that today, but it's a good conception of what was there.
Now below that we have a photograph, a more recent photograph of the house
Right.
in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And I doubt that you'll be able to see it on camera, but on the front porch is this particular chair.
Okay,
we
probably
have
right
on
over there
exhibit
on the right-hand side.
Yes.
This chair is there. And Plenty More is 1759 to 1822.
I served in the Revolutionary War, and after that was able to obtain land in the northern part of Clinton County.
He was our first postmaster, I believe, in Champlain, and became a judge. And well, he had to do with Champlain for sure. And I have at home a picture of this house, only about 4 feet high, after it burned. Maybe I could get you a copy of that.
That would be
to put with your records
that
somewhere.
would be a wonderful
Okay,
addition.
let me see what I can do. I could get you one of those to put with your papers. And anything else here that we should see? What, the ladle? Is that?
That ladle is part of the family silver,
Okay.
and it is a very lovely piece.
Okay. A lot of the things in this room are, I think, is an assortment also, right? Different sections.
It's quite a collection again.
Okay.
Many of the things relate to the development of business and industry and commerce in Clinton County approximately 100 years ago.
Okay. You see over here the cigar boxes from Levy Brothers, who were here for many years with their cigar stores, and other bottles, and the milk bottle, the what I want to say, the I can't even give you a name.
Jug.
Cronkite Rouse this point, the jug. And then you got some papers and different things. Very interesting, and there's things you'll want to see more, and we aren't going to put a lot of time in all of them. We've been through here one time. A little sewing machine here. And then I guess it's I was going to say a spread. It's not a spread, it's a comforter, huh?
It is a quilt.
Quilt, that's
It
what
is
I
a
what I
patchwork
want.
quilt,
Okay.
handmade.
All right. A real old flag.
That flag is rather interesting.
Okay.
It was a campaign banner. As you can see, it's the U.S. flag, but you'll also see patched on there the names of Harrison and Morton. Now, this was used in the presidential campaign when Benjamin Harrison was elected president.
Okay.
Now, if you look very closely, you can see that indeed those are patches, which helps us to believe that this was a recycled item, that perhaps it was used in a previous campaign, and the new
I
names
see.
were
Each one,
put
yes,
over the
yes.
top.
Right.
You'll notice another clue that would help us to believe that is the word "and"
is different than the
not
other.
applicated on
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. I see that. And then, of course, 42 stars 42 stars. And the year on that, I don't know my Harrison date.
It was
1880s?
Yes.
Okay. I have a picture home in the village of Champlain. We showed that you're going to be seeing, you were already seen by the time you see this, that showed a bunting up in front of one of our buildings in Champlain for the election of Ulysses S. Grant and Wilson, his vice president. 1872 picture in Champlain. All right, we'll move around and we'll head out. We'll show you some more of the things that what you would see when you come into the museum, what's available here. And we're very indebted again to Jane, and I want to say Rupp. I'm going to say, pronounce it for me again.
Roop.
Roop. I wanted to say Rupp, and I know no matter what I do, I'd say it the way you
Well,
don't.
that would have been all right. Many people do.
Your whole
pronounce it.
family pronounces it Roop?
This is the way I grew up in my home area. That's the pronunciation. Although getting very far afield.
What nationality is Roop?
German.
German. Okay.
German/Swiss.
Is that a lot of German in Ohio, in that northwest Ohio?
In northwest Ohio, there are a lot of people who came there. This was the last part of Ohio to be settled because it was very swampy. And they are German, Swiss Mennonites, many of them. And that is my background as well.
You are a Mennonite, huh? Background?
My background is that.
I find it very interesting. I go down into the Pennsylvania area, and I've done a lot of reading on the Mennonites, and I go down and I feel like they must think I'm imposing, or I'm not for that reason at all. I'm very, very interested, you know.
Well, I think, with anyone, people can tell if you're genuinely
I hope so.
interested or if you're just there to
Yeah.
look at how different these people
Right,
are.
yeah.
That's a different thing entirely.
I admire them very much. We'll be right back. You're watching Hometown Cable. I'm Bob Venn, Calvin Castine with the camera, and Jane Roop. Roop?
Yes.
We're going to leave you to come and look through the museum on a little slower nature, obviously, on your own. Again, it's open from noon to 4.
On Tuesday through Friday, noon to 4, Saturday, 1 to 4.
Okay. Now, we talked before about a 15 or 17 board of
15 members on our Board of Trustees.
So that we figure she can name them all, but in case you might want to forget one or that, it's pretty tough. You've got a list, and tell us who our trustees are.
Our president this year is David Stewartz. Our vice president, Keith Herculow. Our secretary, Shirley Kester. Our treasurer is Fred Smith.
From the museum in
Yes,
Shazy.
director of the
Okay.
Alice Minor Museum.
If I recognize any of the names, I'll comment on them, all right?
Okay, and then we have 11 other board members. I will consult my
Okay.
list for this. I don't want to leave anyone out. James Giroux, John McKenna, Jamie Troutman, David Martin of West Shazy.
Okay, we've interviewed him, you know, with the history of Shazy, and a teacher for many years, well respected in the CCRS district in
He
Shazy.
is the editor of our antiquarian that will be coming out this fall.
Yeah, and a professional when it comes to genealogy.
William Laundrie, who's Dean of Students at SUNY.
Met him recently.
Jane West of Champlain.
All right, Jane West. Jane West. Bayshard West, yes. Jane Bayshard West. Of course, we thank her for all her time also.
Cornelia Forens.
Sounds Peru.
Yes,
yeah.
it is. Bill Saberin of Plattsburgh. Cecily Feldman of Plattsburgh. And Brad Knapp of Keysville.
Cecily Feldman, she's at the Clinton Essex Library? Or is she at the college?
She is at home. I
Okay.
know she's very active in community activities.
We
though.
talked with her at CEF, I think.
She's,
that name's familiar.
she's heavily involved in a lot of
Okay.
activities through the community.
Okay, and those people donate all their time.
That's absolutely right,
And,
and we're very grateful for their help.
So you have a meeting once a month or something?
Yes,
in there?
uh-huh.
And they're the ones that, you tell them what you'd like to do and they more or less agree?
Well, up to a point, yes.
All right,
We
or
have
disagree?
that happens sometimes too, but generally we work together quite well.
Okay.
We have certain activities that are ongoing. We have a commitment to maintain and preserve the lighthouse on Valcour Island in Lake Champlain. This year we've received a grant from the state DEC to do some work out there to shore up the flooring for that. So that project will be starting very soon. That's an important project of our organization to preserve this piece of our history. Other activities are fundraising events. As we mentioned earlier, our antique show.
The big one coming
Yes.
up here in July, again, 6th and 7th.
July 6th and 7th.
Couple of weeks.
Vintage car as well, and we're going to have special events this year as well. Horse-drawn carriage rides, walking tours of the old base, things of this nature that will make it inviting for those who may not be especially interested in some of the other things that are going on.
Okay. Jane, you come up with an idea, or the board comes up with an idea at your next meeting for July. And everyone's very excited about it, right? How long will that take to get onto the floor where you'd have, people would be able to see it? A year?
You're speaking of an exhibit? It could take that long. Some major exhibits could take longer than that. We are working now, we're committed to begin an exhibit on Irish immigration into Clinton County. And that's going to open this fall. Bob Fitzgerald.
I was going to say you get a lot of help from Rouse's Point on that.
Yes, Bob Fitzgerald has been very instrumental in that. In fact, he dropped some more information for me today. And we're looking to interview descendants of Clinton County Irish settlers who would like to talk about their family history in relation to coming to Clinton County and what their lives were like. They don't need to be prominent. That's not the point. We just want to know.
Be nice to put that on tape. A videotape or something?
I'm working to do that.
Yep.
I've interviewed one lady who has generously spent about 3 hours with me and has given me some other leads. So we're very excited about this project. It will be an oral history that will continue to be held here long after the exhibit is over.
Bob Fitzgerald is very interested in that. He's the one that did most of the work, a lot of the work for the customs display they had back in 1988 that we came and took a picture of. All right, and here's the lighthouse that you were talking about, right?
Yes.
On Valcour.
Yes, that's
I thought it was on Cumberland Head. I'm telling Calvin it's on Cumberland Head, and you won't find it there, by the way. Isn't there one on Cumberland Head?
There is one right at the tip of Cumberland Head.
Okay.
It is a private residence.
Oh, okay.
This one, the entire island, as a matter of fact, as well as the lighthouse, are owned by the state.
Okay.
And the island is designated to be forever wild, but we do have a conservation easement that helps us to maintain the lighthouse and keep it intact.
The Antiquarian is the yearly book.
This is our Journal of Clinton County History. It is published in the fall each year. We are working now to prepare this year's edition for printing.
Okay. This book is still available, The History of Clinton and Franklin Counties, with index. It's a reprint.
There are only a few copies left, though, so if you
Okay.
would really like to have one, you'd better come quickly.
And some various things in here, and writing paper, I guess, and various on bottles and business. Various things available here at the museum.
We have many collectible items, and we have a lot of publications. Some of them done locally, some are brought in, such as the books that you're looking at there. Things that relate to local history that are wonderful resources.
If you remember, a couple of years ago, we went out and did they rebuilt what was the Philadelphia. They made a replica, and it was down at the along the lake here, right across from Valcour.
Lake Champlain Maritime Museum.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
was
So that's where it is in Vermont, and they
Yes.
came over here, and we went on it. We had a great talk with two people there about that. Some more of the items that you can pick up here, and then the publications, all kinds of publications. Here's the Forgotten Summer. Anything you want to comment on here?
Forgotten Summers talks about the citizens' military training camps that took place in the early 1900s at the Plattsburgh Barracks. This was a rather unique experiment in citizen military training. Also, we have many publications relating to the Battle of Plattsburgh, a biography of McDonough, British naval activity, Alan Everest's History of Plattsburgh,
Great.
briefly
Now,
told.
he's got maybe 10 or 12 different books, including plenty more
Yes,
that he wrote.
Yes, that's it.
And also Alexander Macomb. Macomb was the leader of the ground forces.
Yes, he was the regular Army general.
Okay. The Beatmantown book is written by somebody from out west by the name of White. who did this as a project because I think he was related to the Beekman family at one time. I think that's what Addie Shields told me about him. The maps are available too?
Yes.
You can buy.
These particular items are artifacts, or could be. They're antiques. And they're special prints, so that we do have some older items that we are willing to sell.
Okay.
Also, we do have reprints of historic maps that you can see on exhibit in the museum. And reprints of them are available in our gift shop.
Okay, let's go over here just a little bit, Jane. Go and he can get some of these other books that are available, including the Battle of Plattsburgh Bay. Of course, there are many of those. Let's take a short break, and we'll get situated again. You're watching Hometown Cable, Clinton County Historical Association, right here in the corner of Court Street and Oak Street in Plattsburgh. You ought to be here today, but if you can't get here today, come next week, before the end of July, because there are going to be some changing going on, and you can come in August and see a lot of new things then. Okay, we're going to show you the Battle of Plattsburgh, the Iroquois. Any comments you want to make on these, Jane? Go right ahead.
Okay.
Not far from land, that's Valcour
The
Sailing
Valcour
Club.
Sailing Club, yes.
And of course, the Clinton Prison. Great old pictures of Clinton Prison back from the 1840s up.
That book and the Reflections, which is the next one, the Story of Redford Glass, are both catalogs and supplements to exhibits that occurred at the museum in the past.
Okay. Peter Palmer has written several books and a history of Lake Champlain. This one here didn't put the name on the cover.
That
It's
is a
called
history of
Willsboro. No, we were telling you how to spell Willsboro. Look at that. S-B-O-R-O-U-G-H. That's why Jane knew it so well. She saw it right there.
That's right. And a lot of the material in there comes to us from William Gilliland,
Okay.
an early pioneer in the area.
Right.
That's 1/3 of the towns in Clinton County at one point.
That's right. There were only 3 townships.
That's
You-
right.
You know that too. You've learned that. How much studying do you do on this when you leave here and go home at night?
Well, probably not enough,
Not enough, but
but it does take some time to come up,
sure.
to get up to speed on all this.
and remember, this lady isn't
So
here
far,
6 months.
yes,
You're
people
not
have
here
been very
6
forgiving
months,
so
you know.
far.
You got to remember that, so that and she'll be very honest and tell you she don't know, but she'll find out, obviously, right?
We do have the resources to find out.
And even if you read it, don't mean you're going to remember it. So it takes time.
We,
you know?
we do our best, and I have been able to pick up quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But there is still, as with anything that you learn, the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know.
Exactly. Now, you've been hired here for how long of a term? And your contract is for 1, 2, 3, 4?
The contract is a 2-year contract, which
Okay.
is, of course, renewable at the end of that.
Are you on probation right now? So that you got to be careful what you tell me today.
So far, there's been no major pressure that I'm aware
All
of.
right, of course. I've got to be careful. I'm not always as serious as I could be. The history of the Altona Flat Rock by our own Larry Gooley right here in
Yes.
Champlain, New York. You know, we did a story on the Flat Rock out there, and we've talked to Larry about his book. The French occupation of the Champlain Valley for 150 years. The Chazy and the Revolution.
Chasing the Revolution, a brief pamphlet, and of course the story of Champlain.
Okay,
The original people, again, relates to an exhibit that we had here in the museum.
okay. The Phoenix Project.
And that is in relation to a ship or a boat that was brought up from the
Okay.
lake.
And the Champlain Canal up and down. Chateauguay, New York, written by John Bilo. Good story about Chateauguay to the west of our, just outside of our county. Chateauguay is not in our county, is it?
No.
Just outside. Bottles and Businesses in Plattsburgh, Love and Duty, Virginia Mason Burdick, the town of Clinton, the big town of Clinton, and Point of Fur, written by Alan Everest. And the Zerlos had a lot to do with writing that. And some other books on Columbus, Chazy, Witness to War and Peace, Champlain and Rouse's Point, Places in Path in History, Saranac Lake. There's a book on ice fishing and ice in making, manufacturing in behind. And the last one over there is historic courthouses. So you can come here and look these over, and they're all within your budget, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
right,
Try
Jane,
not to price them too high because we know how important this information is.
Jane, thank you very much for being with us here. I know you didn't know what we were going to talk about. That's not always easy, but we made out all right, I think.
I think
all
we
right?
did too.
And again, don't forget the Antique Show and the Vintage Car Meet, July 6th and 7th.
That's correct.
Starts about 10 in the morning.
10 in the morning at the old base.
Any place to eat when they get out there?
There will be food vendors who will be providing, there will be, of course, lunch kinds of food and some snacks as well.
Okay, and she mentioned something about a walking tour of the base. You're right
Yes.
in there, huh? The old base.
We have some people who are familiar with the base and are familiar with its history who are going to be conducting those tours.
And who's promising good weather? Who's
Well, I'm not going to make a promise, but I sure hope we have it.
I don't know if you mentioned on camera or off camera that your parents had been up here. We say that off camera or on camera?
It was on camera.
On
I
camera,
believe.
okay. So they won't be here. They aren't coming back for that.
No, it's quite a distance. It's 800 miles.
Okay. Jane Roop, she's the new director, curator at the Clinton County Historical Society. We're very pleased to have her here, and of course this very fine museum that we don't own. It's being made available to us by the James Fitzpatrick family. Is that correct?
The building itself is owned by the Fitzpatricks, and they're very generous in their lease to the association. And it's made a wonderful museum. The building is historic, so we're very, very pleased about that.
One more thing, if you're not already a member, think about it. And then one other thing, I don't see it here. I thought I saw one. Your monthly program you send out.
Oh,
a
our
little sheet.
newsletter.
Yeah, you got that newsletter.
North Country Notes.
Right over
There's
here.
one right in there.
North Country Notes gives history of the area, and it also at the very top there's different speakers that are in the government center, and usually on the first Monday of the month, 7:30. In this case, it was Bill Slocum from Altona, talking about the history of the Altona Flat Rock. I'm sorry, talking about the Altona. A history of the Altona Flat Rock was available at the meeting. He wasn't talking about the Flat Rock, I don't think. He was talking about the history of the recent history of Altona. Longtime resident of Altona and in the education field. That's about it from Plattsburgh. Bob Venn, Hometown Cable, says we'll see you next Sunday. In the meantime, don't forget, if you're not a patron to Hometown Cable, I can't imagine why. $12 or more once a year. Help this kind of program stay on the air. It's on 5 times every day. 12:30, 4:50, 6 times I guess now, Calvin tells me.
Just 5.
5 times. 5 times and maybe more. 12:30, 4:15, 8 p.m., midnight, and 8 on the following morning. You can see the same program with your friends, relatives, and just about everything important that's happening in the Northern Tier. You'll see it along with the Castines, and I get on quite a bit. See you next week. What you're seeing on the screen is something we're going to talk about in just a few minutes, so please stay tuned. You're watching Hometown Cable. Our program is called What's Going On Here. My name, as usual, is Bob Venn, Calvin Castine with the camera, and we're very pleased this morning to be at our own cable company, Time Warner in Rouse's Point, New York, where we're going to talk to a regional manager. And I don't know many regional managers, so this ought to be a big deal for Hometown Cable.
Well, we certainly hope so.
Is that all right to say that?
Sure.
Nancy Potter.
Nancy Potter. I'm Assistant Regional Manager in the North Country. My office is actually in Messina, New York, and I'm here in Rouse's Point to speak with you gentlemen today.
Okay, now, there was a manager here, and that is not the case anymore?
Right. Mr. Baylog, John Baylog, many people probably remember John, left the company back in April to pursue other interests, and we've pretty much consolidated a lot of our systems here in the North Country, and we now have a regional manager and assistant regional manager that covers systems from Rouse's Point all the way to Watertown. So I oversee 7 systems in the North Country.
Wow. So then you come here once a week?
I come here at least once a month, sometimes more.
So you have who's in charge locally? One of the ladies here?
Yes, we have both Shirley and Dawn here in the office, and of course Hal in the field. They're very capable people and keep things moving for us, and I'm their contact here in Messina,
So there's no one person in charge of the office here that say that the other 2 would answer to?
Well, Shirley probably would take the lead.
Shirley
She takes the
LePage
lead, right.
from Champlain, our own Champlain.
Right.
And Dawn is who? De Grand Prix also works
right,
here?
she's a CSSR also
Okay,
here.
and Hal, you said?
Hal Gaudreau is our technician here.
Okay. You see their vehicle running out. You got a very prominent spot here on Champlain Street, in the corner of Elm and Rouse's Point. How long you been with Time Warner?
Well, I've started off with New Channels. Of course, New Channels turned into Time Warner. Been with the company for a little over 18 years. Was transferred here from Syracuse July 1st. So, yes, my family, we all moved up here to the North Country.
Well, now, 18 years. Cable wasn't too old when you started, was it?
Yeah.
You were in one of the early...
One of the early stages, when I first came on board, cable was 13 channels. We hadn't even installed or started promoting HBO. HBO started probably 6 months, maybe a year after I was hired. So cable's come a long ways in 18 years.
Big change from Syracuse to Messina?
Yeah, big change, big change. Used to city life, I guess, a lot quieter, but we like quiet, so and we like country.
And you can get to Messina in, what, 3 hours?
Well, I can make it to here.
Careful now, it's speed.
About 2 hours, I guess. It's
About 2 hours. All right. What do you do as an assistant regional? You call in all the offices?
Yes, I have, again, the 7 offices, so I oversee anything to do with operations at all, deal with a lot of employees throughout the systems, and handle customers. I have customer service managers in some of the systems who would actually deal more directly with the customers. I talk with franchise officials, a little bit of almost anything.
The transition from New Channels to Time Warner, I thought, went so smooth. Yeah, we hardly knew there was a change.
It did. It was very easy to slide over. Things are different when you belong to a privately held company for many, many years and you go to a major corporation, but transition was very easy.
You say that's as an employee maybe,
Right.
but as a watcher, a subscriber, we didn't really notice any difference
There
at all.
shouldn't have been any
because
change at
New
all.
Channel was excellent. We had an excellent service. We very, very seldom are we out or do we have many problems with our channel.
Right. And Time Warner invests a lot of money in their cable systems, and in Champlain, in fact, we have an upgrade, a rebuild plan that will start this summer. We'll be bringing in some fiber into Champlain for the first time, which will definitely improve picture quality, give us some more channel space that we haven't had in Rouse's Point before. And in '97, we'll be looking at more channels, more changes. So.
Now, you
lots to
talk
come.
about fiber like a person who has 18 years experience. What do you mean you're bringing in fiber?
Well, the fiber for those people that don't know are they're strands of glass that come in a bundle, and it makes it easy for us to bring signal across fiber. Fiber is very reliable. Again, your picture quality is greatly improved, but it cuts down outages because it's much more workable than actually what we call hardline cable, and so it's definitely, and it's the wave of the future.
So these will be all new wires, they'll all be changed?
Yes, it's a big project.
Yeah, it
Big
certainly
project.
is, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody will be seeing crews.
Oh, now listen to this next question. Someone's going to say, wow, that's going to raise our rates.
Well, rates are always an issue in every system, and Time Warner really tries to be conservative, and we still offer some of the best rates in the entire state. We really do. So we try not. Nobody likes to raise rates, but everyone's expenses do go up. Our vehicles, gas goes up. Once in a while, someone's salary goes up.
Yeah, those assistant regional managers, they really go up when they move.
Yeah, well, we moved up. We moved from Syracuse up here. That was the move. But, there's just a lot of overhead expenses for running a cable system. We pay, license fees to bring programming. Programmers want more money. So, unfortunately, that's what constitutes a lot of the rate increases.
Okay, we're going to take a very short break, and we're going to come back and talk about pay-for-view, something that is brand new to our particular viewing area as far as I know. Falcon has it in Plattsburgh, but I don't think New Channels or Time Warner in our particular station has ever had it before.
That's right.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that and let you know what's coming up. Stand by. Now, whenever you have pay-per-view or anything else, not everybody on your system are going to be interested because of what it is. The first one you have is a fight night.
Right.
What's that going to be about?
Well, on Saturday, July 13th, Tyson, I'm sure everybody's familiar with Mr. Tyson, is going to fight a gentleman by the name of Selden. It's only being offered on pay-per-view, and we are going to bring this event here to Rouse's Point. Rouse's Point has never had pay-per-view before. Technically, it is not available on a full-time basis yet in Rouse's Point, but we hope to have pay-per-view available in '97 in Rouse's Point.
Now, when you say Rouse's Point, make sure people understand. That's all the people in our viewing area.
Right.
That were the former new channels here, the towns of Champlain.
Shazy,
Right. Okay.
Ellenberg.
That's when we talk Rouse's Point. We're talking about the system that's up here.
That's right.
Okay.
Anyone who is a Time Warner subscriber
Okay,
here
right.
in this area, right.
Okay.
So we're going to bring it here, and people can come in. They have to come in to place an order because there is equipment that they have to have that we will furnish them, that they'll hook to the back of their set that'll give them the fight.
Let's go in there again. If you're interested in this, you will have to come to the office.
That's correct. You have to come to the office and pick up the equipment here at the office.
Mhm.
Correct.
And then when it's finished, you have to bring it back.
That's right.
Within how much time?
Well, the fight again is the 13th, so we're looking at giving the people, 10, 15 days.
Oh, okay. They got,
So there's-
okay.
yeah, there's plenty of
Because
time.
I'm in Ellenberg, that makes them, you're talking a 65, 70-mile round trip,
right,
you know?
Right. Worst comes to worst,
Twice.
they can always mail it back.
Yeah, okay.
But we do need people to come in because we also need people to pay for the event.
Okay.
Because we have high programming costs to bring that as well.
Mhm.
But the fight's going to be $44.95.
$45, $44.95.
It starts at 9:15, and they're going to have several bouts. They're going to bring us a women's pound-for-pound championship that starts at 9:15.
Women's boxing?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they had actually some women's boxing the last time Tyson fought, and it was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting a big demand. Approximately 9:45, they're going to have Felix Trinidad and Ray Lovato. 10:45, they're going to bring in Terry Norris and Alex Rios. And at 11:45, you're going to have Bruce Selden and Mike Tyson. So it's a heavy card, approximately 5 hours of boxing.
Okay, now, the first thing you think of is $45. Come on. You have no restrictions on how many people they can invite to one location. Is that correct?
Well, this pay-per-view is only available in residences.
Well, what I meant is, I can get 5 or 6 of my friends,
Sure.
and we all pay $5 or something, to help pay
and
for it,
that's
obviously.
Yep, that's something we can't control.
No, because I mean, after all, I people who like fights, I guess,
Sure,
and
they
it's going to
have
be.
fight parties. And
But it could also be a 2-minute fight. It can be a 12-rounder.
Yep, could go full, but you never know with Mike.
Yep.
He's come back and he's ready to pursue some boxing, and already there's talk of him fighting again in November. I'm not sure who he'll fight, but I think we're going to see a lot of Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Now this is going to be a coming thing, the
Right.
pay-per-view, because there's you can't pay these people what they're getting, ball players included. You start paying these salaries that they're talking about, and it's going to be more and more basketball, and eventually it's going to come to that. We've been very fortunate with the great coverage we've had.
Right.
Okay, so this is a one-time deal at this point.
Right.
You said in the future it's possible we might be able to get movies or whatever.
Right. Our plan is hopefully in '97 to launch pay-per-view here,
Okay.
which would allow people 24 hours of pay-per-view.
Okay, then you're not talking $45. You're
No,
talking,
I mean most of these special events still run,
yes.
especially for Mr. Tyson,
Yeah.
run in this same ballpark. But the
Right.
movies run usually about $3.95.
Mhm.
They have some concerts that vary $10,
Mhm.
$15. They have wrestling, a lot of wrestling for those wrestling fans. And those are still what they call event price. So they.
Do you have this in any of your other places where you are?
Pay-per-view is available in all of our systems
Okay.
currently, except for Rouse's Point, and that's where we're looking to bring it here.
Okay. You have to change a lot. Will it always be? Well, let me back up on it. Where you have in other locations, you have to have this same machine. Or,
Well, what it
or
is.
can you phone in or something?
Well, in the other systems, there's what they call a converter, a box that some people may have now currently. They have to have the converter in order to order a pay-per-view event
Okay.
because you order via phone. It's an 800 number that you call, and you simply hit the numbers on your phone, and it automatically purchases for you. It's an audio response type unit that allows you to order through an 800 number,
Okay.
or you can call the office and the girls can take your order
Okay.
for you.
So this could be for Rouse's Point area in another year, you're saying?
Oh,
That
absolutely.
type of thing.
Yep, yep.
All right. So what do they do now if they're interested? Tell us. They have to come in? Do they call ahead?
They can call if they want to get more information, but Shirley and Dawn are here. They work all week, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.,
Okay.
so they can come into the office and sign up, pick up the equipment. We will extend the hours. The last, our deadline for order is July 9th, and I need to make sure everybody
Okay.
knows that the deadline for orders is July 19th. I'm sorry, 9th. And but we will extend our hours from 8 to 5 on that Monday and Tuesday. So the 8th and 9th, the office will be open 8 to 5. Those
8
two
to
nights.
5, all right.
That's correct.
Because you realize that someone from out of town, Ellenburg or something, it might be tough to get here before 5 o'clock
Right,
even.
right. And that's why those last 2 days we will stay
You,
open late.
till at least
That's
5
right,
o'clock.
till
All
5
right.
o'clock.
And anything else you want to tell me about that?
Well, we're just hoping that people will take advantage of this. I think it'll be a great
Mm-hmm.
fight. I think it's great for Rouse's Point that we're able to do this event. And we may look at trying to cherry pick some events and see if what else we can bring before we actually pursue
Okay.
full-time.
Will the reception of this and how many people come in affect what might happen in the future on pay-per-view?
Well, this is going to give us a little taste of,
Mm-hmm.
of what people are interested in. It won't. It's not the guideline or the barrier we're looking for, saying, well, geez, this event didn't do well, so pay-per-view won't do well, because a lot of people aren't into boxing.
Mhm, that's right.
A lot
Yeah.
of people are movie watchers.
Right.
But I think this is just something we wanted to try here at Rouse's Point and give people a chance to order this event. And Mike's great to watch. I'm a big
Okay.
boxing fan.
You
so,
are, all
so
right.
I think if nothing else, even if it doesn't last too long, he's.
Yeah. You've had your share of live boxing right there in Syracuse, huh? At the
Oh, yes.
Memorial Center? Is it Memorial Center it's called?
Right. Yep, the War Memorial,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Good sports in Syracuse over the years.
Yeah.
You had your basketball.
Oh, yes, SU fans.
Yes.
Yay.
Oh, they even when the Syracuse Nats were there for the, old basketball association.
And now they have a hockey team,
They have a hockey team, huh?
Syracuse Crunch.
You see in the morning paper where a local boy by the name of, what's his first name? Jesse Bulrich just signed by the, he was drafted in the 5th round last night for the Philadelphia Flyers from Moores, New York. And we gotta congratulate him and those proud parents of his that they said cried at the motel, and we don't blame you for that. Is it Mike and Lisa?
Mike
I forget
Lissette.
that. Huh?
Mike and Lissette.
Lissette. And we congratulate you again, and also the grandparents, of course, Mr. and Mrs. Clifford Bulris, who used to live in Champlain, now living in the Moores area. We're always pleased to see any of our local people do so well. And when you get drafted 5th in the National Hockey League, 5th round, you're doing very, very well.
Yeah, great.
Okay, getting back to Time Warner. Let's talk Time Warner. You ought to be glad to talk about
Sure,
Time Warner.
absolutely.
You're pretty well covered northern New York now,
Right.
except for Plattsburgh with Falcon.
That's correct. Pretty much. Again, my systems are Champlain, Malone, Potsdam, Ogdensburg, Messina, Carthage, and Watertown.
Mm-hmm.
We are part of the Syracuse division, which is, again, still in Syracuse, and they also have the Syracuse system, Fulton, Baldwinsville now, Oneida, Ilion, and Ithaca. So there's some systems that weren't part of new channels that are now part of Time Warner. So they're definitely have a lot of activity in New York.
You know, you're one person who could move to the northern tier and not get into worse weather. Syracuse really gets
Correct.
more snow than we do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Twice as much, I think. Huh?
Right. Well, I lived in Central Square and worked in Syracuse at the division office, and I got a lot of snow. I was right there right off Lake Ontario. I used to dump in my front yard. But
Yeah.
one thing I noticed here, we got very little snow this year, but it was a little colder here than I'm used to.
You're a little bit
A
colder.
little, 45 below a couple days was
Yeah,
a little.
we didn't get the real big storm this year. We had a lot of little 2-3 inches, but we missed those big storms, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And I keep track of my driveway. I think we had around 70 inches, and my cousin in Syracuse, I think, got 180 or something like that, huh?
I'm sure.
You
I'm
get-
sure.
you get a lot of
Because they
it.
used to talk lake affected. Lake effect in Syracuse is an automatic 18
Mm-hmm.
inches.
Okay. So, how big is Time Warner in the industry in general?
Oh, Time Warner is geez, I'm not sure where they rank right now, but I believe they're like second in the industry.
Is that
second
right?
Or third
No,
in the
the
industry.
whole.
Yeah, they're very big, and they're into, I mean, a little bit of everything
Yeah,
there. But they're very big. Their main focus is communications.
Into every state, just about?
Well, I'm not. They're in something like 50 or maybe it's 45 states, including Hawaii, and they
Okay.
are international. They're
Okay.
in Japan, and so yeah, they're international
Okay.
as well. So.
Well, anything else you want to cover about? You've covered one more time. It's on Saturday, July 13th. Starts at 9:15 through who knows when. The last fight with Tyson starts at 11:45, and it'll go on till the end.
Till the end.
You can buy it here up until the 9th.
That's correct.
$44.95.
Right.
You must come to the office to
Correct.
pay and to pick up your unit.
That's right. That's right.
Can anybody hook it up to the back of their TV?
It's foolproof.
It's full. That's a good question. Do you have one? We'll take a short break and come right back. We'll see if they have one.
Yeah, it's a little.
We've been talking about this big unit I was thinking of in my mind, and here it is right here. You just remove your antenna, where you might need a screwdriver, not a screwdriver, but a pair of pliers or a small wrench if they found tight. And then you take it off, and the wire that you have coming in, you plug into this end, and you screw it on, and this screws onto your TV, and that's it.
That's it.
That's it, and it would be easy to mail back
Right.
instead of making a 70-mile trip.
Right.
Could very easily get it back here.
Sure.
Good envelope, and then it's very sturdy.
Oh, yes.
You can't make a mistake, I don't think, right?
No, we
Not
don't
really.
think anybody can make a mistake,
There's a
but
little wire sticking out there.
it's very easy. And when people come in to order, we do have a sheet
Uh-huh.
that shows them again a diagram on what to remove, the
Yeah.
cable line from the back of the TV, or if they have a converter now, same thing. It just
Yeah.
unscrews to the back on the input of the converter. You take that line off, put
Technology, right there.
It's great. Small
Yeah.
technology.
Small technology, but does the job, huh?
That's right. That's right.
All right, well, again, I want to mention how pleased that I have been with new channels, first of all, and with Time Warner. I didn't notice a change. I get a different bill and mail it to a different location.
Just
That's
got a
about
different
all.
name on it.
That's all it is, right?
That's all it is.
And I tell people that tell me from nearby places where they isn't have new channels, or that they're out a lot, or the picture's not clear, and we just don't have that problem.
We really try very hard. Our service is important. Our customers are very important, and reliability. And
Right.
we really, all the people, especially here in Rouse's Point, really work very hard to make sure that we do the best we can.
Well, your managers that you've had here have been very sociable, very,
Oh, absolutely.
very nice to the people in the area when you're getting started with cable. One other thing, if you're not getting a good picture, it's not Time Warner. It's something's wrong. Call and let people know you're not getting a good picture. There's no charge if it's
No.
your line coming in. You should be getting a good picture. There's no reason for it. Or you've got bad equipment or something. But find out what it is, and you want to know. You don't want people to tell their neighbors, tell you, and
That's
something.
right.
And it doesn't happen very often. But there is a problem, and you have an answering service if
That's
something
correct.
goes wrong.
After hours, and
And
we
that's
always
checked,
have.
right?
Yeah, we have a man on call.
Okay.
So if the answering service gets a call, they page Hal, and Hal will be out there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to tell us in general? Here's again, one more time.
In full color?
This is the mainstay right here.
Yeah.
Selden and Tyson.
Right. The only thing I'd like to add, though, is that Sandy's Deli is going to promote the fight for us a little, and we have some drawings, and we're going to be giving away actually one free viewing of the event, so people can register at Sandy's Deli. And we'll be giving out some other prizes, so anybody goes in, fills out a drawing slip, and we'll be drawing on several days, first couple days in July, and then we'll be drawing for the free viewing on the 9th. And we wish people luck, and visit Sandy and fill out a slip.
Okay. And one more thing. We're not talking just the Tyson-Selden fight. There are at least 3 other bouts,
Oh, yes.
good bouts coming up, including the Women's Pound-for-Pound Championship. Now that's, if you haven't seen it, I had never seen women boxing. I know
They're very good.
They are, huh?
Yeah, they had some women on the last time Mike fought, and I actually thought the women were just a little bit better.
Well.
and they went the full 6 rounds. So
All right. You can watch it, and if you don't think so, we'll give you her. Call me. I'll give you her home number.
Yeah, call me up.
But don't call Syracuse. Nancy, welcome to the North Country.
Thank you.
You're a busy person. You're out a lot.
I do a lot of traveling. I do. I'm on the road a great deal just to cover the territory. But anyone that ever wants to try to track me down and speak to me, I'm in Messina. They can reach me there in Messina at any time, and I'd be glad to speak with
Under
them.
the name of Time Warner. There.
Under the name of Time Warner,
Okay.
right.
You know, I traveled, and sometime when it's a long distance from one stop to the other, do a lot of thinking about what you're going to do next, huh?
A lot of thinking.
You ever write letters in your mind and later you can't remember what you were going to write?
Well, actually, I carry a tape recorder.
Do you? Yes.
Because I do so much driving. I record a lot of my thoughts and things I need to do, and because there's a lot of quality time in that vehicle. So yeah.
Well, Nancy, you're one of our neighbors now, and you're part of us.
So.
You mentioned your family. What family moved up from Syracuse?
Well, I have a husband who is actually regional engineer for the North Country. Also works for Time Warner, and he's out of the Potsdam system. So he's over the same area I am, only as technical engineer. So both of us are extremely busy.
Are you his boss?
Actually, yes.
24 hours a day at home, too?
24, yeah, actually, yeah, we have a
we won't let him
lifestyle.
see this.
Right. But I have a set of twins,
Do you?
a boy and a girl, and they're 9, yes. So from South America, I have adopted twins.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, and a dog, so.
And a dog.
And a dog.
Okay, good. Have they noticed a big change from Syracuse up here?
It's been a little transitional for the children because they left some friends and, you know, but they're into it now. Home is home now, so.
Okay. Anything else, Calvin, you think we should cover? One of our neighbors, Time Warner, Assistant Regional Manager, Nancy Potter from Messina. She'll be in and around the area. You don't have to reach her to get something done. The lady's right here, Dawn de Grand Prix, right? And I think Shirley LePage right here can get your information out to you, and Hal will be right out there and make sure you're happy with Time Warner. That's your main reason to make people happy. And don't forget, pay-per-view. If you're into boxing, this is your chance to see it right in your own living room. And looking forward to more and more of these. We're not looking just for movies. These would be first-run movies generally, right?
Right.
Just like nearly out of the theater.
Right. Actually, they go to pay-per-view a lot of times before they go to home box office.
Okay. Thanks for watching Hometown Cable. My name is Bob Venn. Good to see you every Sunday. And during the week when we hear your comments, we appreciate that very much. So if you've got something to say, and you don't know me, just say, hey, Bob, I saw you on TV, and come over and tell us what you'd like to see. And many people bring me $12 or more as a patron. They want to be a patron on Hometown Cable. By gosh, I'm lucky. And Calvin's always pleased to me to bring those checks into him. And if you don't see me, send $12 or more to Hometown Cable. Keep this kind of a thing coming. Because unlike Time Warner or others, he doesn't get a monthly check from anybody. But if you appreciate what you're getting here, and we appreciate, of course, Time Warner making this available to all you people under the access arrangement. Maybe we should just talk about that just a second. Might be break? No? All right, we won't talk about that then. You know all about the access channel. You know how good, how many hours Calvin has. This is going to be on Channel 21 when you watch
That's right.
the pay-per-view. We'll be talking with you next Sunday. Thanks for watching. Calvin with the camera.